Previously on the Rubin Report.
Democracy can deliver.
I have a dentist friend.
I'm not going to argue with that.
And they would screw me over, but I'm a Democrat.
Save this country from white folks.
He can't because he's an indentured servant here.
Cut their tongues off. I have a place where they can put them.
Oh, no. Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Dave Rubin. This is the Rubin Report. It is May 21st, 2025. We are live streaming on Rumble, on YouTube, on Locals. We do not have a post-game show today, right? Because I'm on Piers Morgan immediately after the show. I apologize in advance. I'm a busy guy. What can I tell you? And speaking of busy, I am going to Hungary next week. That's right. I've got a couple events in Budapest. If you want to join us on May 29th or May 30th, you can get tickets at daverubin.com/events. And then right from Hungary, we're going to Israel. I've got an event in Tel Aviv and in Jerusalem. We'll probably be adding some stuff on the fly. And this is all part of the Don't Burn This World Tour, which will be in Australia later in the year. And we'll be adding things throughout. You can take a picture of that QR code if you're technologically savvy, or as I said, go to daverubin.com/events. And also we have a brand new Dave Rubin newsletter, a Rubin Report newsletter. It's really incredible. Look at that picture. I mean, I'm someone doing something and you need more information from me. daverubin.com/newsletter. And it's absolutely free. We don't want anything of you other than a little bit of attention to perhaps become more erudite in your day-to-day operation. We have a very good show for you today. We always have a good show for you. You know, these late night comics, oh, we got a great show for you tonight and the show sucks. I'd like to say we basically have a good show for you every day. But we went through the show this morning and this is just a jam-packed episode of the show. We are going to kick it off with my friend Megyn Kelly, who did just an absolutely bang-up job in her interview with Jake Tapper. Now, Jake, poor Jake over at CNN, the guy, you know, it's like he was supposed to be the hero over there, right? Like he wasn't the obvious clown partisan dingbat like a Stelter or like an Acosta or like a Don Lemon or a Chris Cuomo. He wasn't in that bucket. He was kind of thought of as a moderate. Yes, he was obviously a Democrat, but a moderate. And he came from ABC News, which was somewhat respected 10 or 15 years ago. And he was chief White House correspondent over there. And that's why so many people are always frustrated with Jake, because the guys that are obviously hacks and partisans and clowns, it's just low-hanging fruit. But then there are these other people that you expect a little bit more from. And of course, this is all to the backdrop of his book, The Original Sin. You know what? Let's just dive right in. Here's a cover of the book. Original Sin, President Biden's Decline, Its Cover-Up, and His Disastrous Choice to Run Again by Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson. If only Jake Tapper had a television show. A daily 5-day-a-week show where for the last 4 or 5 years he could have been discussing such things, huh? Anywho, the book has come out, and the strange part about it is there's so much breaking stuff. You know, I've written 2 books. Not only does it take time to write books, but then the publishing world is very slow. It seems to me that however they wrote this book and got it out, it was all done very quickly because they announced the book, I think, in like December. So for it to be out in May that may sound slow to you, but in the publishing world with these giant publishing houses, that's a very, very quick time to get this thing out. In any event, they get it out this week. And of course, what else do we find out this week? We find out that Joe Biden has a fairly serious form of prostate cancer that has metastasized and now has entered his bones. And this is serious stuff that he's dealing with. And it's also to the backdrop of Joe Biden just going on The View 2 weeks ago and breaking down again and them running cover for him and all the stuff that you know. So anyway, he's on a book tour, as one does when one has a book. And he went on Megyn Kelly's show. And you know, I adore Megyn both personally and professionally. But if you want to see Megyn doing, I think Megyn does consider herself a journalist. I always say to you guys, I'm not a journalist. I just tell you what I'm thinking. I interview people. That's that. You can call me whatever you want. Megyn does consider herself a journalist. And here she is doing Journalism 101.
I did ask Joe Biden to be transparent about his health records in an interview in 2020. I did ask him about the fact that voters
then he wasn't.
Thought that he was not transparent at all. No.
He promised you that he would be transparent about his health records, and then he wasn't. And when you sat with him again,
at all.
including 1 month after the Jackie Walorski thing, you didn't ask him about it. You didn't follow up on the fact that he was falling up the stairs, that He was losing his train of thought regularly, that he was slurring, that he was incomprehensible, that he was getting lost on the White House lawn. You sat right across from him and you asked none of that, notwithstanding the fact that he had promised you he would be fully transparent about his health issues. You know as well as I do that there's a way of, you can say, hey, there's this poll on your age, or you could say, you just forgot that Jackie Walorski was dead. You asked where she was moments after watching a videotape tribute to her. You lowered the flags at the White House after she died. This happened 13 days before you sat with him. There is a way of pressing a man like that on the actual infirmities to bring it home to him and to the audience, and you didn't do it. It wasn't just that. I mean, you sat with him a couple of times in the course of his presidency, and these issues were not pressed. Well, there was at least that time, and then there was the time at the beginning. And but separate and apart from that, you covered the Biden's presidency. No. Let me just finish my point. You covered the Biden presidency. Okay, right. And it was 13 days after the Jackie Walorski thing. But you covered the Biden presidency aggressively throughout the 4 years, and you didn't cover mental acuity hardly at all. I mean, time and time again, when issues came up, you seem to be running cover for the president.
You know how so often on this show, I tell you that when someone's telling the truth, it's kind of easy to say, and it's just like it rolls off your tongue because you don't have to think about it. It's just real, and it's now, and it's true. And Megyn is just doing that. That's a journalist doing journalism. She is holding him to account. Oh, there was the woman who was dead that Joe Biden thought was in the crowd after they played a video eulogizing her. Oh, there were 4 years of obvious stuff as it related to his cognitive stuff. And now you wrote a book about it, even though you didn't cover it, while a whole bunch of people online were covering it. Did an absolutely great job. The guy in the third screen there, the third little box there, was Alex Thompson, who's the, quote unquote co-author of this book. But Jake is clearly getting the heavy fire right now because, again, people, to whatever extent you think that CNN is still a news organization, people think that Jake is a somewhat serious or competent newsman. So he really stepped into it this time. I just don't understand. I would have loved, and Jake, if you want to do the show, I know I've been very critical of you, but I would treat you the exact same way I would treat anyone else on this show, which I think I've never failed at, which is with respect. But I would love to know when Jake was probably, I doubt it was his idea to write the book. When someone came up, whether it was his publisher or someone at CNN or it was his manager or agent or whoever, when they sat him down and were like, hey, someone's going to write the book about what happened to Biden and the scandal behind it and all of the leaks that are going to come out and the things that we're going to find out, like they were about to put him in a wheelchair and all this stuff. Like, didn't Jake think, boy, if I do this, I am really opening myself up to criticism? Because I got to tell you guys, it is pretty crazy. Having been on 2 book tours, one of the things that happens, you go on these shows and people usually ask you about the book and they may say, I agree with you on this, I disagree with you on this, or what did you mean by this, or why did you write that sort of thing. But it's usually somewhat friendly. That's just how book tours are. When I was on both book tours, the only mainstream I could get on was Fox. We tried to get on MSNBC and CNN, which would have been much more oppositional. Obviously, they wouldn't even put us on. But this instance is particularly bizarre because for an author to have a book come out and then just be getting crushed and slammed over the head by everybody, not only the people interviewing him, but just the internet writ large, like it really is unique what's happening. We've got a little bit more from Megyn with the smackdown.
Joe Biden has been saying stupid things for decades. Okay,
I get what you're saying, but this minimizes it too, because it was more than saying stupid things. But I'm telling you, like over here in my ecosphere, we were covering all of these. It wasn't just falling down; it was getting lost. It was some of the stuff you report in your book. We knew, and we were reporting on, like the multi-jump cuts in the videos of him, where it was obvious he couldn't get through a 1-minute take, so they had to use those. It was clear to us that he was using teleprompter, and there was some reporting on that at the time, all of which the White House was denying. Now, with the current White House, I have some connections. With the Joe Biden White House, I had none. But you did. You did. And so while you've been in Washington 30 years, Jake, you guys, you and CNN have White House connections, but there was no effort, none to get to the bottom of this. And now for you guys to write this book like there was a cover-up, it's like there was a cover-up and there was an attempted cover-up. It could only ever work if you allow.
I want to double down on my credit to Megyn here for a second, because it's not easy to do what she's doing. It's one thing to just like tell the truth and all that, like that's important. I'm not minimizing telling the truth, obviously. But, she probably has some pre-existing relationship with Jake Tapper. One of the things that becomes hard when you become a public person and you're in this swamp and you see how the sausage is made and all these things, you start becoming friendly with these things. I have no doubt that Megyn Kelly has been to many parties, probably, with Jake Tapper. They might know each other's spouses. They may have met each other's kids. It's not the easiest thing to do what she's doing there just on the human level outside of the journalist level. But of course, she said a couple things there. First off, when Jake says, well, Joe Biden said a lot of stupid things. Well, okay, yeah, he has said a lot of stupid things over the years, but that's not what this is about, and you know it. She then makes the point that you were ignoring it while us in our ecosphere, and what she's talking about is us, right? She's talking about the internet people, that we were all out here watching the unedited videos or noting that why is it that when Joe Biden, when they have to have him do literally a 30 or 60 second straight to camera thing, that they have to jump cut it 7 times. And the reason is because he can't say 2 consecutive sentences without mucking it up. We know that. That is why they do jump cuts, period. So let's just jump over to one more. Here's, well, we have a few more, but let's just stick with kind of hammering Jake, so to speak. Here's Jake reporting on Trump's mental fitness compared to Biden's mental fitness. So this is 2018, how he was dealing with Donald Trump, versus 2024, how he was dealing with Joe Biden.
Welcome to The Lead. I'm Jake Tapper. We begin this afternoon with breaking news. A stunning report out this afternoon revealing just how concerned at least one top administration official was about the chaos of the Trump presidency and the behavior of President Trump. The New York Times reporting the Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein told FBI and Justice Department officials that he was considering secretly recording President Trump to try to document the dysfunction he was witnessing, and even discussed trying to garner support from cabinet officials to potentially invoke the 25th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. This would remove President Trump from office for being unfit to serve. This is according to several people who described these events to the New York Times. Obviously, his behavior is erratic and unusual. Do you think there's a case to be made that he's unfit? In our politics lead, the White House today vehemently pushing back on a new report on the president's age and mental acuity. The White House communications director posting that the story in the Wall Street Journal was a complete and utter editorial failure by the Wall Street Journal. Makes you wonder who they're taking orders from, unquotes. Maybe that's an insinuation because the Wall Street Journal is owned by News Corp, which is run by the Murdochs. This is all in response to this headline today from the Journal. Quote, behind closed doors, Biden shows signs of slipping, unquote. Beyond the headline, there is some critical nuance here. The article is mostly based on observations of Republicans, with former Speaker Kevin McCarthy the only one going on the record.
As always, do you see why they want to censor the internet? Do you see why I like going back into those old videos? So in 2018, he's talking about Donald Trump being unfit, and we're talking to White House sources and da-da-da-da-do. And in 2024, when people start asking those questions, it's because Fox is owned by News Corp and everything else. So they don't want you to see the things that you can see in front of your eyes. And the reason I think this story is so important, it's because it's connected to COVID. It's connected to the border. It's connected to all of the nonsense where they lie and lie and lie, and then they ignore. And then eventually it all just like gets crumbled up right in front of our face to the point we can't ignore it, which is exactly what happened on June 27th of last year, the night of the debate, when the airlock could not contain the truth anymore. And unfortunately, Jake was part of that. So the irony here is that the thesis of Jake's book is that there was a massive cover-up in the Biden administration, in the Biden White House, and with the Biden family and people around them as it pertains to Joe Biden's mental acuity. But Jake, if you want to maybe write a follow-up book, or if you want to put up an extra chapter digitally, I have an idea for you. How about a new thesis, which is that the media was actually part of it, in which case you would just need a mirror. Let me just say one other thing about Jake real quick. I don't think, I already said, I think he was a decent guy years ago when they brought him in. He gets caught in the CNN ecosystem. But just at a human level, Jake Tapper does not strike me as a horrible human being. Like some of these guys, like genuinely strike me as terrible people, like Acosta and Stelter and Lemon. Like some of them are just bad people who knowingly are just doing awful things all the time and everything else. Yes, do I think he was running cover for the administration? Obviously. Was it bad that he did that? Yes. Was it in due dereliction of his duties as a journalist? Yes, all those things. But he doesn't strike me as a bad person, but he's just getting his comeuppance here. Did you not think, as I said earlier, did you not think that this was going to happen? When you got the deal for the book and they write you the check and they go, here's 800 grand advance, we're going to write the book. Was he like, all right, I guess 800 is worth like basically burning up my career, which is what he's doing right now? That would be an interesting question to ask him. Let's talk about boner pills, and then we'll have more on Tapper. Fellas, let's be real. Everyone could use an extra hand. But with Blue Chew, you get an extra leg. They're the original service offering chewable tablets to help you with performance, and now they've taken it up a notch. Introducing Blue Chew Max, a powerhouse formula combining the active ingredients of Viagra and Cialis into one chewable tablet. This combo is so strong you might even have to move towns with the amount of noise you'll be making. That means fast-acting, long-lasting support when you need it most. Be ready when the moment's right. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with a licensed medical provider, and once approved, your prescription ships directly to your door discreetly and hassle-free. No waiting rooms, no awkward conversations, no pharmacy lines. And here's the best part. We've got a special deal just for you. Try your first month of Blue Chew free when you use promo code Rubin. Just pay $5 shipping. So if you've been looking to step up your game, head on over to BlueChew.com and use promo code Rubin to get started. More confidence, better moments, delivered straight to you. For more details and important safety information, visit BlueChew.com. Dave, can you give me a perfect segue from boner pills back to Jake Tapper? Yes, let's continue going hard on him. Here he is telling Megyn that he apologized to Lara Trump. You may remember that moment, which there'll be a little bit of a clip right here. Take a look.
But you covered the Biden presidency aggressively throughout the 4 years, and you didn't cover mental acuity hardly at all. I mean, time and time again, when issues came up, you seemed to be running cover for the president.
I don't think
interested.
that's true.
Well, I mean, we'll start with the Lara Trump issue that you referred. Here it is. This happened in 2020.
Joe Biden, as we all know, has worked to overcome a stutter. How do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
First and foremost, I had no idea that Joe Biden ever suffered from a stutter. I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable to watch somebody on stage search for
so
questions.
amazing.
You're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were
stuttering.
mocking his stutter.
Yeah,
I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline.
And it's very concerning to a lot of people that this could be the leader of the free world.
Okay.
That is all I'm saying. I genuinely feel
Lara
sorry
Trump.
for Joe Biden.
I appreciate it. I'm sure it was from a place of concern. We all believe that. Lara Trump, thank you so much.
Do you want to apologize to Lara Trump now?
I've already apologized to her. I called her months ago.
And what did she say?
I mean, I don't want to disclose the contents of a private conversation, but I thought the conversation went well. And she has said this publicly, so I feel fine sharing it. She said that she would never mock anybody's stutter.
Again, reiterating one more time, this is just a bang-up job by Megyn. It's not the easiest thing to do. Like, they travel in some of the same circles for as far out of the mainstream as Megyn now is in this ecosystem that we exist in. That, number one. Number two, it's the smugness and dismissiveness of Tapper. So yes, I am glad to hear that he apologized to her. He owed her an apology. Lara Trump, by the way, is an absolutely spectacular human being. You know, I was at an event about a month and a half ago over at Mar-a-Lago. She spends a ton of time, her and Eric spend a ton of time helping kids with cancer. Like they are really a spectacular couple, and she's a wonderful human being. But putting that aside, you know, I've been paying attention to politics for quite some time. I don't know, 3 decades at least. I know I got into it in 1988. I know exactly when I got into politics. I was in 8th grade. It was during the Dukakis George H.W. Bush election, and we did a mock election in my class, and that was the first time I got into politics. I was 12 years old. So it's a long time already. I never remember hearing until these last couple of years that suddenly Joe Biden had a stutter. Joe Biden ran for president multiple times. He ran for president, I think, in 1988 as well as a Democrat. He had to step down he had to end his campaign because he got caught plagiarizing. But suddenly, as Joe Biden's brain broke down, the meme went out there that to the mainstream, oh, he's got a stutter. And they really thought they could pull the wool over our eyes on that and that we were going to buy it. And I guess a few people did buy it. But the disgusting part of that, and again, I'm glad he apologized, so I won't hit him over the head with this again. But the really disgusting part was at the end when he's saying goodbye to her. Yeah, it's because you really care about him. It's just like, it's so smug and awful. Let's just go to the time machine for a minute. Here's a little compilation of Biden just not doing the job of president particularly well, and often having Jill at his side, either encouraging or running cover.
Putin may circle Kyiv with tanks, but he'll never gain the hearts and souls of the Iranian people. Inflation is a worldwide problem right now because of a war in Iraq and the impact on oil and what Russia's doing. Whether or not they're pulling back from Fallujah. It's hard to tell, but he's clearly losing the war in Iraq. I mean, the idea we had to wait all those months just to get the money for Iraq because we were waiting.
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the facts. And let me ask the crowd, what did Trump do? Lie! Yes.
I got to tell you guys, it does not bring me joy to bring you those clips anymore. Like, it's deeply depressing. They had an opportunity to do something really.
You're doing a good job. Keep going. Yay! Good job. You spoke on the camera. Good job.
You see, guys, you see. You see, like, that she really, and as a doctor, let's not forget Whoopi wanted that woman to be Surgeon General of the United States of America, that Jill Biden did this. Like, that moment where she's like, you answered all the questions. That's literally, it sounds like a kindergarten teacher talking to a kindergartner, a 5-year-old. And that was after the debate on June 27th, 2024. And they tried, and they almost did it. They almost made it happen. Here's a bit more of CNN running cover for Biden's stutter.
President Biden got his physical today at Walter Reed, probably his last checkup before he's expected to announce he's running for re-election. He's already our oldest president. He'd be 86 at the end of a second term. So what do the results of his physical tell us? He's apparently, according to his own doctor, President Biden remains a healthy, vigorous 80-year-old male who is fit to successfully execute the duties of the presidency. All right, well, all questions answered there, I guess. President Biden does have word-finding difficulties. He does. I mean, anytime you hear him in a speech, he does stumble. And I don't know if that's his stutter or if that's the prompter, but he does. And as you know, his critics seize on that. I just think that, when you watch other networks, they edit it strategically to show his flubs, to show him stammering. They do that, and then they sort of, wring their hands about how concerned they are.
God, that woman looks worse than Tapper on some of these. She's like, well, they said it, so, let's wrap it up. We'll see you next week, everybody. Where's my Pulitzer? Come on, everybody, let's roll. I mean, it's just, again, all of the stuff, guys. It's just like we can all deal with so much bullshit. We really can. But post-COVID and BLM and boys or girls, like, you guys poured so much bullshit on us that at some point we're like, just had enough bullshit. I can't, you know what image I'm getting? I'm getting Mad Max Beyond the Thunderdome when they take Master. Remember, they take the little midget Master, he's on Master Blaster, and they drop him into the pig shit, and he's covered with shit, and he's pissed. That's us right now. We're a midget covered in shit. We've had enough of this nonsense. Here's Jake Tapper talking about how, and it would have been nice if he would have said this during the administration, but suddenly he's having all these revelations. My God, it's incredible. His brain's turning on. That apparently Hunter Biden was a big decision maker in the White House and for the family, although he's a degenerate.
How big a factor was the Hunter stuff?
I think it was considerable. I think Hunter was driving the decision making for the family in a way that he was almost like a chief of staff of the family.
Does that strike you as pretty bizarre?
It's bizarre because I think he is provably, demonstrably unethical, sleazy, and prone to horrible decisions. I mean,
Tell me how you really feel.
well, I mean, I just look at the record. I mean, after his brother died, he cheated on his wife with his brother's widow and then got her addicted to crack. That's just one thing I could say. I mean, I don't have a lot of personal regard for him, and just based on having nothing to do with, I barely have ever met him. I've met him like once or twice, but I knew Bo. Bo was a great, upstanding guy.
I knew him too, really.
A real loss for the country too, not just for his family, for the country. But Hunter is not that, and the idea of letting him drive the family car, as it were, is just really, really questionable.
Jake, I'm going to guess that everything you're saying there is true, that he is a degenerate, that he is a liar, that he did get the sister hooked on crack and all the stuff. And there were all the images that have mostly been scrubbed of the internet of him with what appear to be underage Asian hookers and all of this stuff, and smoking crack and lighting the pipe and all of the stuff. So if you're right about all that, where were you during these 4 years? Why didn't you say any of that? So again, you wrote a book. What did you think was going to happen? Now you're telling us the truth when you have a book to sell, but you could have done it before because you're the one that says you're a journalist, not me, you. So you should have tried that. I also love the fact, again, that that's Alex Thompson, the co-author, sitting next to him. And Alex has got to just be like, whoa, I'm getting out of this one because everybody's pissed at Jake. No one has ever been happier to have his name on a book and not be asked a question than this guy, Alex Thompson. Anyway, here is a video edit of Tapper flip-flopping on Hunter Biden. Enjoy.
There's no evidence to support the allegation my father was financially involved in my business because it did not happen. There's no fairness or decency in what these Republicans are doing. And I do have to say, whatever you think of Hunter Biden, and there's certainly a lot of people in this town, Democrats and Republicans, that do not think a lot of him, there is a certain kind of like cruelty to the campaign against him. Where is Hunter? Where is Hunter? Where is Hunter? Hunter was driving the decision making for the family in a way that people, he was almost like a chief of staff of the family.
Does that strike you as pretty bizarre?
It's bizarre because I think he is provably, demonstrably unethical, sleazy, and prone to horrible decisions. I mean,
Tell me how you really feel.
well, I mean, I just look at the record. I mean, after his brother died, he cheated on his wife with his brother's widow and then got her addicted to crack. That's just one thing I could say. I mean, I don't have a lot of personal regard for him.
First off, who hasn't gotten their brother's widow addicted to crack? I mean, has any of you guys not done that? You guys have all done, like everybody's done that. Like, okay, so fine, if you give them a pass, but you get it. Again, it's like, Jake, why didn't you 2 years ago in 2023 or during the Hunter Biden laptop or any of those things, while you were kind of running cover for the story, the Hunter Biden laptop and its misinformation and Rudy Giuliani is some scary Trumper and all of those things, and these things should be hidden from us and we shouldn't be allowed to share the links to the story, the Hunter Biden laptop story on X and everything else on, well, what was known as Twitter at the time. Like, you could have just chimed in on any of it. Here's another Tapper edit.
Kari, the right wing is going crazy with all sorts of allegations about Biden and his family, too disgusting to even repeat here. I mean, some of the ones I've seen from the president's son and some of the president's supporters are just wildly unhinged.
What do you mean they're wildly unhinged? So what were the allegations? The allegations that Hunter Biden was a degenerate? The allegations that Hunter Biden was getting his widowed the wife of his widowed brother to smoke crack, or the underage hooker stuff, or the rest of the laptop stuff, or the money laundering, or like what? I think we have another. No? Oh, all right, we don't have another. We've decided, I think we're throwing it. Can someone throw a towel? We're throwing in the towel. No more videos of Tapper for today's show, but we do have Donald Trump on some of what's been going on here with Joe Biden. Joe Biden was not for open borders. He never talked about open borders where criminals of all kinds, shapes, and sizes can flow into our country at will. It wasn't his idea to open the border and almost destroy our country and cost us hundreds of billions of dollars to get criminals out of our country and go through the process we are going through now. It was the people that knew he was cognitively impaired and that took over the auto pen. They stole the presidency of the United States and put us in great danger. This is treason at the highest level. They did it to destroy our country. The Joe Biden that everyone knew would never allow drug dealers, gang members, and the mentally insane to come into our country totally unchecked and unvetted. All anyone has to do is look up his record. Something very severe should happen to these treasonous thugs that wanted to destroy our country but couldn't because I came along. Make America great again. That is a very interesting thing that he just wrote right there. Because what he's doing is basically saying Biden was so compromised that we shouldn't be angry at him, like we've mocked and made fun of and all the stuff that we've done to Biden over the years. And I said all the things about Biden. And I usually, when it comes to the mental stuff, I do it with the backdrop of separate the person from the politician and all of those things. Fine. But what he basically is saying right there is that Joe Biden of 30 years ago, go look at that long ass Senate record that Joe Biden has, or even some of his record as VP, even though towards the end of the VP situation, it was starting to crack. But if you look at the man's 30-plus year record in the Senate, you may disagree with him politically, right? But he was basically a moderate Democrat. Did at any point in Joe Biden's 30-year history, was he suddenly like, open up the borders? Do you think at any point in Joe Biden's history, do you think he was suddenly like, I don't know the difference between boys and girls? All of the stuff, right? Was it suddenly the whole country was founded on systemic racism and everything else? So the question is, and so Trump's making a really interesting distinction. At some point, there's no point in talking about Joe Biden anymore. Because he will be gone, right? In effect, he's gone already. But there will be a point in talking about the people who did this, whether that is Jill Biden, whether that was the chief of staff, Ron Klain, who was running it, whether it was Schumer and Pelosi, whoever else was around him. Those are the people that were the president of the United States. He sat at the desk, I assume occasionally in the morning, at a desk that had a little thing right there and it said President of the United States. But that was the extent of it. And if we don't figure out who those people were, well, what do I always say? The machine has a way and they will figure out how to do it again. So we've got some work to do. We will have more on the other side, shifting gears altogether. But first, home title lock. Homeowners, listen up. Your home title and equity are at risk. In today's AI-driven, cyber-hacked world, criminals are stealing home titles by forging your signature, using fake notary stamps, and filing a simple document with the county. Just like that, your home is no longer in your name. They can drain your equity or even sell your property, and you won't know it until you get a foreclosure or collection notice. When's the last time you checked your home title? If the answer is never, you need Home Title Lock. I've partnered with them so you can see if you're already a victim, absolutely free. Use promo code Rubin at HometitleLock.com and get a free title history report and a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. Don't wait until it's too late. Protect your home and your equity today. Go to HometitleLock.com and use code Rubin. All right, so let's move on for a moment. Obviously, the big thing of the last month before this Biden stuff went crazy was the Democrats' defense of an illegal El Salvadorian immigrant who beat his wife with a boot, who was a human trafficker, who then was sent back to his home country of El Salvador. The Democrats made this man, of course, I'm talking about Kilmar Ábrego García, they made him a martyr and a hero. He had MS-13 gang signs on his knuckles. They went to El Salvador to talk to him. Chris Van Hollen, Maryland senator, had a margarita with the guy. Oh, here's Van Hollen with Ábrego García, and there's the margarita, and very exciting. Is that a cherry on top too? Is that a cherry from what I'm seeing right there? It looks like he had a cherry on. It's a very exciting time. Great man. Yes, beat his wife with a boot, the human trafficker. Okay, whatever, nobody's perfect. Anywho, this is the guy that the Democrats, like, you find a bad dude. There was a video game back in the 80s called, I think it was called Bad Dudes. Like, you find let's see if we can get a screenshot of that. If you find a bad dude, that's who the Democrats like. Anywho, Marco Rubio was testifying in front of Congress yesterday, and here he is just going off on this ridiculousness around Ábrego García and what the judicial branch has done as it pertains to deportations.
In the case of El Salvador, absolutely. Absolutely. We deported gang members. gang members, including the one you had a margarita with. And that guy is a human trafficker, and that guy is a gangbanger, and the evidence is going to be clear in the days to come. You're going to see who you went to defend.
Senator, please, Secretary Rubio has the floor.
Mr. Chairman, he can't make unsubstantiated comments like that.
Secretary Rubio has the floor. You've had
Secretary
your time.
Rubio should take that testimony to the federal court in
Senator,
the United States because he hasn't done it under oath.
Here's another point, okay? There is a division in our government between the federal branch and the judicial branch. No judge in the judicial branch cannot tell me or the president how to conduct foreign policy.
Okay, first off, Van Hollen, look, I'm not for violence politically, but if someone was to be hit in the head with a boot, I think Marco should have just taken his boot off and throw it at Van Hollen's head. It is substantiated. We showed you the video a couple weeks ago of years ago with Ábrego García getting pulled over in a truck that he claims is his boss's and he has no identification, and they have added extra seats to the car and they're in the wrong state, and his own freaking wife is the one that went to the police and said she was beaten repeatedly, including with the boot. This Van Hollen, why? Why do you love bad dudes, Van Hollen? What did your father do to you? That is the question. Anyway, watch this. I've said multiple times from the beginning that Rubio somehow, to me, Trump has done such a great job picking all of these people. We don't have to do the laundry list of people. You just see who's in the cabinet, and people are just doing a bang-up job. Rubio seems to be the gem right now. I would say the most underrated of all of them. And just watch this great moment when Van Hollen's gone after him and says he regrets voting for him to confirm him to be Secretary of State.
I have to tell you directly and personally that I regret voting for you for Secretary of State. I yield back.
May I respond?
You may sit.
Well, first of all, your regret for voting for me confirms I'm doing a good job, based on what I know.
Well, that's just a flippant statement, Mr. Secretary.
Can I respond, Mr. Chairman?
You may.
I didn't ask
Senator, please let the Secretary have
I'd be
the floor.
happy to, but then I can respond to his
Your time's up, Senator, and willfully used, I might add.
Well,
your remarks do not represent the view of this committee.
Well, Mr.
Secretary, please.
Well, I'd like to. I can't respond to everything he said because much of these are untrue, but I'll go through a few. First of all, I'm actually very proud of the work we've done with USAID. For example, I don't regret cutting $10 million for male circumcisions in Mozambique. I don't know how that makes us stronger and more prosperous as a nation. I don't regret psychosocial support services.
I raised Sudan, Mr. Secretary.
Can I respond,
Senator? All right, first off, I'm going to throw in a couple bucks to continue the male circumcision operation in Mozambique. I'll throw in $100 just to make up for a little bit of that, but your tax dollars shouldn't pay for that. We have a funny edit here. Watch this.
And I have to tell you directly and personally that I regret voting for you for Secretary of State.
Well, first of all, your regret for voting for me confirms I'm doing a good job.
Bam, motherfucker. It continued. You remember Tim Kaine? Tim Kaine was Hillary's choice for VP. He's just like another one of these Tim Walls, Tim Kaine. They love the name Tim. If you want just like an average guy who nobody particularly likes, that they can throw in for VP on a candidate that nobody likes, who I guess happens to be female, their name is going to be Tim. Here's Tim Kaine losing it because Rubio suggests that he only cares about skin color, which I'm pretty sure is now in the Democratic Party platform.
But I'm going to ask you, so a well-justified fear of persecution?
Yeah, they thought that their farms were being burned down and they would be killed. I think that's a pretty good justification for wanting to come. They're afraid for their lives.
And should it be applied in an even-handed way? That's an easy.
No, our foreign policy doesn't require even-handedness. It requires prioritizing the interests of the United States.
The phrase says you are entitled to entrance as a refugee if you demonstrate a well-justified fear of persecution.
No, you're not entitled.
So
you're
can
allowed.
you have a different standard based upon the color of somebody's skin? Would that be acceptable?
Well, I'm not the one arguing that. Apparently you are, because you don't like the fact that they're white, and that's why they're coming.
I'm just asking you to say that would be unacceptable.
Well, no, I would say that the United States,
a very easy thing
the United States has a right to pick and choose who they allow into the United States.
Even based on the color of somebody's skin.
You're the one that's talking about the color of their skin, not me. These
are
people whose farms were being burned down and they were killed because of the color of their skin. Well, you've demonstrated enough because you think anyone should be allowed into this country for any reason because they met a certain criteria.
Who has said that?
We are going to prioritize people that come into our country on the basis of what's in the interest of this country. That's a small number of people that are coming.
But you said this weekend that
but
there
in other
would be more.
cases, it's harder to vet. In other cases, it's more difficult. And by the way, the United States admits people.
These guys are just all such dirtbags. Do I even have to bother? Like Tim Kaine, you didn't care. Again, you didn't care, just like the media and all the Democrats and the auto pen. You didn't care when 15 million people were coming into this country. You didn't care what skin color they are or anything else. Then the Republicans, the Trump administration, let in, I think it was, 59 of these white people from South Africa whose farms were being burned, who were under attack, who came here with families and kids, and they're waving American flags. And I'm going to go out on a limb. Someone please fact check me on this, and you could fact check me live. I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that they had some family members here. There was some infrastructure ready to welcome them into communities, that they had jobs, they probably had some money. They weren't just going to be random people, all 25 to 30-year-old men who were just going to show up and get on the dole and sell fentanyl and, murder hookers. Clearly, we can show you the video again. I mean, they had little children with them that were their own children, as opposed to the other guys who come in with other people's children, and you don't have a problem with that. So again, and Marco Rubio wasn't making it about skin color. He's saying the obvious truth, which is, first off, no one has a right to be an American citizen. If you want to come to America, that's fine. You got to wait and do it legally and figure it out. And even if you really want to come, and even if you're coming from a really bad place, we still don't have to let you in. There's a door now, and not everyone gets to come in the door. Not everyone gets to come into my house. Like, that's just how it works. We're all discernible. We all discriminate when it comes to who can come in our house. If there was a person walking down the street, and let's say he was a fentanyl addict carrying an axe saying, "I'd like to kill Dave Rubin," well, I'm not going to have him over for lunch. What are we having for lunch today? Chipotle. You guys with your Chipotle. What's that? True. My fact check was true. We did one on the fly. So they have jobs, and most of them have family members here, et cetera, et cetera. We're fact checking live on the Rubin Report today. You should try that over at CNN, Jake Tapper. But Rubio, of course, is right that what we do, we're not looking at people, oh my God, bring in more whiteys. We're looking at people. We're looking at their circumstances. We're looking at our ability to, quote unquote, help people. We're looking at what their connections are to this country, what their beliefs are, and everything else. And then, like everything else, there's a hierarchy. There's an order to importance of what we can do and when we can do it. And Tim Kaine is just a dingbat. More Marco Rubio. Here we go.
South Africa's president is traveling to the United States this week to meet with President Trump. The administration has prioritized bringing some white South Africans, Afrikaners, to the United States despite the increased restrictions on refugees. President Trump claims there's a genocide underway in South Africa. That's a legal determination. The State Department would make it. Are you trying to determine that now?
I will determine that these people are having their properties taken from them. They can call it whatever they want, but these are people that on the basis of their race are having their properties taken away from them and their lives being threatened, and in some cases killed. These are people that applied and made these claims in their applications and seek to come to the United States in search of refuge. We've often been lectured by people all over the place about how the United States needs to continue to be a beacon for those who are oppressed abroad. Mm-hmm. Well, here's an example where we're doing that. So I don't understand why people are criticizing it. I think people should be celebrating it, and I think people should be supporting it.
Well, in fact, is there evidence of a genocide that you have?
They are in favor. I think there's evidence absolutely that people have been murdered, that people have been forcibly removed from their properties, both by the government in some cases because of a law they passed, but also because of independent groups encouraged by political parties inside of South Africa.
Okay, so once again, he's just doing a bang-up job. You can see what she's trying to do. She's trying to pin this on the word genocide. And the word genocide means something very, very specific, which would be a systemic, organized, what would you say? A systemic, organized, aimed destruction of a certain people based on ethnicity. And you would have to see over time population going down, et cetera, et cetera. Now, what we've seen in South Africa, we know this. And by the way, tomorrow in studio, I have Rob Herzog. Rob Herzog is a South African businessman who I had on when we were at ARC in London in February. And he was talking about the 140 plus race-based laws that there now are in South Africa. The fact that they are, yes, taking farms away from white farmers and a series of other ththings. But again, it's so interesting that this gets on Meet the Press and what show is that? Face the Nation and Meet the Face and Face the Nation and Face the Fuck and it somehow is escalated to these people because 59 white people got in here. Again, you guys didn't have a problem when 15 million people were coming in. Now we got a couple white people in who, as we just fact-checked live on the show, either have jobs and or family in the United States, so they're not just going to be put on the dole, and now you're freaking out about it. So once again, just bang up job, Marco Rubio. Let's talk about CB Distillery, and then we'll get to more about racism.
Memorial Day isn't just for BBQs, it's also the perfect time to save big at CB Distillery. Right now, during their massive Memorial Day sale, you can save up to 40% site-wide with promo code RUMBLE. Whether you're looking for better sleep, less stress, improved focus, or relief after exercise, CB Distillery's hemp is U.S.-grown, third-party tested, and free from artificial additives. No junk, just clean CBD you can trust. That's why over 2 million people rely on them. They even have products for pets. Don't miss this chance to stock up at cbdistillery.com with promo code RUMBLE.
All right, from somebody like Marco Rubio, a competent person with a track record of success who deserves your attention and your respect, to the mayor of Chicago. His name is Brandon Johnson, and he resides over a city that has mass mayhem in the streets. I think we did it already this week, but can we get the numbers on how many people were killed and shot in Chicago over the weekend? I think it was around 19 shot, 4 killed, something like that. And that there's been massive fleeing of people, of sensible people from Chicago, because people don't like getting shot. You know, you try to go out to dinner, and it's like, oh, my wife got shot. I think I'm going to leave. You know, people just, you can't, it's not something people are that interested in. Anyway, this guy is a complete racist. He is an utter buffoon. And finally, this is a man who literally is saying that the city is hiring people based on race. He's saying that the black race is better. Like, the guy is just an abject, old-fashioned racist. He just doesn't happen to be the color of racist that the machine likes you to think that racists are. But here he is with a reporter calling him out for being a racist.
Real Chicagoans woke up this morning relieved that the Department of Justice is finally investigating your race hustle. As someone who grew up on the south side of Chicago, I've heard a lot of race hustlers in my life, trust me, but they were usually marching around outside of City Hall, which is what makes this so embarrassing and dangerous. Very, very dangerous to the city of Chicago.
Okay, we need the question.
I'm more than happy to ask this question. It's long overdue. For over a year, real Chicagoans, white and black, have been telling me that your black power rhetoric is bringing the city backwards from a place that
we need the question
had overcome. You want the question?
Please.
Real Chicagoans want to know, why are you a racist?
Well, you know, first of all, I reject the idea and the premise that somehow that's an actual legitimate question.
First off, I want to know the name of that journalist, because that's just great. Like, he actually kind of didn't have a question. He just wanted to basically say, you're a racist. Everyone knows you're a racist. I talked to my mom. She knows you're a racist. This guy over here thinks you're a racist. You're a racist. The other guy, would you ask him a question already? Okay, why are you a racist? Like, it's just perfect. And then he rejects the notion. Okay, sorry, you can reject the notion, but you are a racist. All you talk about is race. Although you don't talk about, we did get some updated numbers. I was off a little bit. 23 people shot in Chicago this weekend. Only 2 killed. That's pretty good. But likely all black on black crime, which is why he doesn't talk about it. Here he is talking about, he was confronted because apparently a restaurant owner's license was yanked and given to a black owner. Like, the whole thing sounds completely insane unless you were in South Africa. Ugh.
All right, we're going to go to the next one. Alice?
The next question, my follow-up question is a businessman, Robert Gomez, had his riverfront restaurant license yanked. You said that the reason you hire black people is because they're the most generous race on the planet. His riverfront restaurant license was yanked and given to a black restaurateur. That has, once again, reinforced the belief among real Chicagoans, white and black and Mexican, that you are a racist. What do you say to those people?
Again, I reject the premise that somehow that your question has any legitimacy. Thank you for your time.
I like this. It's the same journalist asking the question. I like this guy, whoever he is. I also like the way the camera's framed up, where you don't see anyone else but him, as the guy's like, you're a racist, you're a racist. And by the way, you're a racist. Has anyone called this guy a racist today? And yes, apparently somehow there was a restaurateur who was not black, had his business license revoked. and then they gave it to a black guy. There might be more to the story. I have no idea, but would it surprise you if Mayor Johnson has somehow created a program that is making it easier for black people to become restaurateurs or get business license or whatever it might be? No, by his own words, that's exactly what he's doing. The other thing that he's doing, genius, this guy, he's not just a racist, he's also a genius, a racist genius, which is the scariest type of racist. He has been getting advice from teenagers about curfews. And well, here's one such teenager explaining her theory on all of this. This is one of Brandon Johnson, one of his advisors.
I would say I really don't know much about curfews because I wasn't one of those teens who would be outside for real. Like, I wasn't raised for that. But one thing I will say is that I wouldn't think that it would, because some people home, we trying to escape home. You know, teens try to escape home. So I feel like a curfew, it might belittle that, because while you trying to keep someone in the house, they could be with a safe spaces organization, with a staff, with your coworkers or something, you know? Like, I think, yeah.
Do you think that curfews work to help teens make better decisions? Because the city council right now is considering a proposal that would allow police to issue curfews anytime, anywhere, to help prevent teen takeovers.
How I really feel about that, I just feel like if the city allow us to give kids something to do so they won't have to do teen takeovers, maybe that's the answer. Maybe we create programmers and give them jobs so we can send peacekeepers to those events to keep the violence down and stuff like that.
So you see what's going on here. I'm not going to make fun of those kids, obviously. I'm sure they're great kids and they're trying to do the best they can, and he brings them on this board. But so he creates a condition in that city where people are being shot left and right, where people are being killed all the time, where people are fleeing the inner city and everything else. He creates that condition. Then he brings on a board of teens to help him decide what he should do about curfews. It's his fault in the first place. And regardless of what you think about curfews, now I'm not for the state-sponsored curfew. Remember when they were trying to do that during COVID? It's up to the parents. Now, I know you guys don't like parents either, but it is up to the parents when their kids can and can't be out. You have to be involved in your children's life. Remember, when I was growing up, there used to be a interstitial on commercials. It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your kids are? And everyone would go, no. And then they'd have some whiskey. Like, that's what it was, but at least they asked. You guys have just destroyed absolutely everything. So you wreck the city, you then bring kids on. It doesn't matter whether that kid has a good idea or not. It's not up to the kid to decide whether the state should have a curfew over their lives. And the second kid, and again, I'm not making fun of the kids, he's like, it shows you how they really muddled the minds of young people, because he's basically like, if they could just give us more things to do, then people wouldn't be out there, killing people in essence and burning down stores and everything else. And it's like, you know what? Actually, you're kind of right, but it's not the government's responsibility to do that. Could the government maybe put up more lights around basketball courts so that you could play basketball at night? And that might be good. Yeah, that might be something. But you have to figure out it's your parents and the community that has to figure out what to do so that at dusk, when the sun goes down, when I would spend my afternoons as a teenager on my bike all day with my friends doing God knows what, and then the sun would come down and we'd come home and we'd eat dinner and then you didn't go out again. It's about the family and the community, you guys. So the government screws it up and they want the government to solve the thing that they screwed up, which is government 101, actually. But how do we solve all of this? And we're going to have to go a little short today because I'm on Piers Morgan in about 10 minutes. How do we solve all of this? Well, the way you solve all of it is, A, you can do what Megyn did, which is you confront it when it's right in front of your face. You don't let the people get off who have lied about everything. That's one way to do it at sort of a journalistic level. A more fun way to do it is just troll and mock these freaks. This is great. This is Johnny Jones. I know him a little bit from Jesse Waters' show. We've met a couple times. He goes yesterday to a James Comey book signing. And of course, James Comey got in a little hot water this week because he took that picture on the beach that he didn't know. There were just random numbers on the beach, 8647. He had no idea what it meant, but he thought it was very artistic. He took a picture of it, puts it on Instagram. Of course, it did have something to do with killing the president of the United States. Anyway, Johnny Jones goes to the book signing. I think he had to buy a book to get online and watch his little interaction with Mr. Comey.
Thank you for coming. Great to meet you. Hello.
Director Comey,
Yeah.
how are you?
Good, thank you.
Jesse Waters from Fox has a question.
Yeah.
Why do you want to 86 Trump?
All right.
Director?
I'm not taking questions like that now.
But why would you
Just signing the book.
why would you post that? Director Comey, how was your interview with the Secret Service?
You want the book signed, really?
Absolutely.
Okay, you got it, bud.
Can you sign my seashell too? Which beach is this that you're going to? You find a Kamala seashell, 8647. This is a politically charged beach, Director.
Be well. Be well.
Come on. Director, the seashell? You don't want to sign it?
I do not. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night. Have a good night. Thank you. Good night.
Can you sign my seashell? I mean, that's just great. Like, it's just great. And that's what you have to do. And then he has a smile on his face after he didn't threaten him. He didn't get in his face and basically try to flip the table over anything else. He didn't do any. I'm not talking about the tactics that the left does with us, silencing us and everything else. He had to buy the book to get online. He bought the book, wasted the $20 on the book. He brought the seashell, which he probably found himself on the beach here. And then he had to waste a perfectly good seashell on that. And that's how you do it. You do it with a smile and you mock these people. And one more in terms of mocking and how you just call out the nonsense. This is Elon Musk yesterday going after a reporter who was going after DOGE and everything else using the NPC line that I love.
You've talked about $4 billion a day being saved, but that won't get, which is, and I think everyone can agree that combating waste and inefficiency in government is a very good thing. But if you add that up, it's not going to get to $2 trillion over the lifetime of DOGE.
I'm sorry?
The $4 billion a day, if DOGE is going to run till next July, is not going to get you to $2 trillion. But you still say it's your aim, so we'll take that as read.
There's what DOGE. I mean, I feel you're somewhat trapped in the NPC dialogue tree of a traditional journalist. So it's difficult when I'm conversing with someone who's trapped in the dialogue tree of a conventional journalist, because it's like talking to a computer. DOGE is an advisory group. We are doing the best we can as an advisory group. The progress made thus far as an advisory group is excellent. I don't think any advisory group has done better in the history of advisory groups of the government. But nonetheless, let's not criticize whether there's $4 trillion, and instead look at the fact that $160 billion has been saved, and more will be saved too.
There's something so great that he did right there. So basically, she doesn't deny that they're saving $4 billion a day. What she's saying is, oh, but that's not going to get us to the $2 trillion. So in essence, it's like, why even try? And that's just so ridiculous, right? Like, what would be like the Jordan Peterson version of that? You aim at something. It doesn't mean you're going to get the exact thing. It doesn't mean we're going to get it $2 trillion on the nose, but oh my God, we saved $1 trillion? I don't know, that would be pretty good. That's number one. But so what he's talking about there, so NPC, you guys know the phrase, it's non-playable character. This is when you're in a video game and you're a real person and you might meet someone, if you're playing an online multiplayer game, you might meet someone else who's a real person on the other side of the screen, but the NPCs are the programmed players and they have a dialogue tree. So they can, it's if and this, they can only do certain things. So it's like you go to the store to buy a weapon if you're playing in, like a medieval game and you want to buy like chainmail or, the ball with the spike on it or an axe. The guy who works at the store, he's an NPC, he's a non-playable character. He can only get you that or tell you you don't have enough money for it or something like that. He can't go out to dinner with you, right? Like they're only programmed to do certain things. So the dialogue tree that he's talking about there is that they are just programmed to do certain things. The tree will give them so many, they have a layer of answers here, and if you answer one way, then they have a different tree here, the branches here and here, but they can only do so much. And that's what these people do all the time. So to anyone that is stuck in that dialogue tree, whether it's Jake Tapper or your cousin, let's help them break out of NPC mode and think for themselves. That is how you solve problems. People, I have no doubt that I'll be solving some problems on Piers Morgan. God knows which leftist dingbats I will be debating momentarily. We will see. So no post-game show, but reminder, if you are in Hungary or in Israel, I will be there next week and the week after. Budapest, Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, Australia, end of the year. We're going to be adding a bunch more. DaveRubin.com/events. Thank you for watching today's program. Over and out.
Andy Harris
said that you didn't adequately convince enough people to vote for the bill. The House Freedom Caucus.
You mean after this speech?
After this speech, that's what
Oh,
you
yeah, I
said.
think so. Well, what do we see at the voters? I think it was a great talk. It wasn't a speech. We talked about things. Who do you work for?
Notice.
Who?
Notice.
I don't even know what the hell that is. You gotta get yourself a real job.